Like Mr. Felice said, my name's Kyle, and I work in the communications department here at SAS. I graduated from here in 2002. We moved here the summer before my senior year, so I left the school that I had grown up in and then moved over here. I loved it so much that I came back, and now I have a kindergartner. Our little daughter's in kindergarten here. So, I need a volunteer to start. You don't actually know what you're volunteering for. And, oh man, that dude's hand went up so fast. Come on down, man. Hey, give it up for him. People who volunteer for things that they don't know what they're volunteering for, that's incredible. I have incredible respect for you. Okay, I'm about to ask you to do something. Okay, what's your name? Quinn. Okay, we'll go with Quinn now that we know each other. Okay, Quinn, I'm going to have you jump over this umbrella. I'm going to have you tell me at what height you think you can manage this. So we're going to start up here.
Okay, that's a big no.
That's a big no. About more like this.
No, I'm thinking...
You're more like in this range.
A bit low?
Maybe just a touch.
I think I could do
Yeah,
that.
you think you can.
I
Okay.
think.
Guys, can he jump this high?
I'm not sure.
Can he? I think he can jump this high.
I think.
Okay,
Like,
giddy up.
Like some sort of-
You want a running start for this? Would you like a running start? Do you want me to scoot over a little bit? Just give him give it up, give it up. Okay. Running start, my friend. Quinn, that was amazing. I have one last task for you. Okay, last thing. Now I need you to jump over that. If you want, you can get the running start again. It's cool. Whatever. Yeah, whatever you prefer. Yeah. At your own pace. Take your time. No rush. We got all morning. Oh, yeah. Quinn, thank you very much. You're welcome to take a seat again. Okay, what was the difference between his jumps? Besides the obvious. The height, right? Okay. Thank you. Yes, the correct answer was the height. So Quinn, when I set the expectation, and he helped me set that expectation for up here, what? He matched it, right? Actually, he exceeded expectations. He jumped higher. When I said, Quinn, jump over this thing that's lying on the ground, what happened? What happened to his performance level? How many of you guys are athletes? Athletes, raise your hand. Any sport, anything. How many of you guys have ever run into it before where you know your competition and you know they suck and you're like, we don't need to really go all out today so we can kind of drop our performance. That's something that happens a lot in athletics where you know that the team that you're playing is weak and you go, we're going to take today off and we're just going to kind of adjust our performance to the expectation that's there. So today we're going to talk a little bit first about that, performance and expectation, and we're going to talk about it in relation to this. Yes, I know what you're wondering. Who is that dashing young man in the middle? Who looks so serious because he was young and tough? Yes, that's me in the middle. And yes, I was part of a professional dance crew. Yes. It doesn't sound as cool anymore as I say it because I don't know how many people watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but anytime I picture dance troupe now, I picture Gina, and she's doing some kind of crazy, something. And now I don't feel as cool when I say I was in a dance crew growing up. It just doesn't have the same kind of ring. But in hip-hop, crews are actually a really important element of that culture, okay? And the crew that you are with is very important because you build off of one another and you help each other raise your performance. And so what we're going to talk about this morning is that performance and expectation piece, but we're going to talk about it in relation to your crew or whatever you want to call it. Maybe you call it my friends. This is my best friends, my squad. Some of you may have an entourage. If you have an entourage, come and see me afterward so that I can join your entourage. I think that's incredible. I work in communications, and so I love stories, okay? And I love being a storyteller. How many of you guys are familiar with the hero's journey? Dr. Clark's in here. He's going to be proud that hey, there he is. Nice. I didn't even know you were. Okay, he's proud of you right now for raising your hand. The hero's journey. On the hero's journey, what stands out to you? What catches your attention? Just yell it out. Anything. Death. Wow, we went to a dark place very quickly. I'm going to rein it back in from death. For me, what stands out is the fact that the hero never does it alone, right? The hero always meets a mentor or they have a helper of some kind, okay? And if you look at very popular movies or literature, the hero always has help along the way. Simba never would have made it back to Pride Rock without Timon and Pumbaa. That's a fact. And Nala as well. She was in there too. And then you have your others. Frodo, Luke, Harry Potter. Of course, he had his little crew of wizards. In fiction, obviously they've built out the hero's journey really strongly. And they follow that story archetype really well, right? So how does that apply to reality? Well, we have some other figures. So we'll just kind of look at these figures here. When you look at who's on the screen right now, whether you are building a billion-dollar business, changing the course of civil rights, winning 6 NBA championships, or leading the United States of America, did any of these people do this by themselves? No. That's the answer. Good. I saw some head shaking like this. No. Yes, you are correct. Not a single one of them. And that there's this myth of the solo entrepreneur who's out there just grinding away for 18 hours coding, and they're going to change the world. Even they, if you think Zuckerberg, even he didn't do it by himself, and now he's got so many employees over at Facebook. You have to have a crew. You have to have a team to help you accomplish the things that you're looking to accomplish. Ta-da! You might recognize some of these people. Oh, snap. Yeah. This is some of you. This is what I get for working in communications. I just get to pull pictures from wherever I want and then use them in a presentation. Okay, so some of you are up on the board. The application here is this, that you are on your own hero's journey right now, right? Every single one of you. And every single one of you has your own destination in mind. And you will encounter your own trials the way that we have the hero's journey laid out, right? Death being one of those, hopefully not anytime soon. You will also need to assemble a crew to make it to where you're looking to go, okay? And we're going to talk about that today. So, who's familiar with Dr. Robin Dunbar? Oh, I did see some hands. That looks like Bart Millar up there. Nice. Okay, so Robin Dunbar works at Oxford, and he has this theory, and really now there's something named after him. It's called Dunbar's number. Okay, and Dunbar's number is 150. What do you think the 150 stands for? What's your name? Give it up for, man, he's already nailed it, yeah. Okay, he's right, and we're going to just flip it a little bit. So Dunbar's number is 150, and 150 represents the number of people that you can cognitively process in your life at one time, stable relationships that you have. And that number, I get it. Some of you may have a little more, some of you may have a little less, but the average is about 150, right? And so he says that this is the number that when we come together, we can meet and we can talk and we have memories together. You can process and handle this number of relationships at any given time. But that number is fluid, and there are people moving in that 150 and people moving out of that 150. But what a lot of people don't know is that Dunbar's number is actually a series of numbers, okay? It's a series of numbers, and it actually works in multiples of 3. So as we go down, we get to about 50. And Dunbar says 50 is about the number of people that you would invite to a party. So think about the last party that you went to. Although some of you, who knows, the number of people showing up to your parties. We can talk about that later. 50, he says, is about the number of normal people that they would be, averaging at a party. Could be more or less. You drop down again and you get to 15. And 15 is what he says that if we're in that group of 15 together, you and I are sympathizing with one another. If you have something wrong, you're coming to me. If I have something wrong, I'm coming to you. And we have that type of, I'm like dialed in right on you right here. And we have that type of thing, yeah. So at 15, if we're in that together, if I have something I need to confide in you, I'm coming to you and I'm going to share that with you if we're in that 15. You go one more down and you get to 5. And 5 is where the real magic happens. 5 is that inner circle, that crew, that squad, that whatever we're calling it this morning. That's the magic number, okay? Now, it works the opposite way too. So you get up to 500, And he says, this is the number of people who you would call casual acquaintances. This is, I think, just over double the number of seniors that we have, which is around 500. So this is the number of people that when you see them, you recognize them, you can say their name, they can say your name, and you know a little bit about each other. Pass in the hallway, you may give them that little head nod, but maybe that's all you end up doing, okay? 1,500. 1,500 is the number that Dunbar says, I can remember Willow's name, and I can place it, and I know that it's Willow Martin, and I know that she plays soccer, but maybe we don't go beyond that if you're in that 1,500 sphere. You know their name, and you can place the face with it, but maybe you can't do, a whole lot more. 5. 5 is the number that we're going to focus on today. And 5 is important. I want you to think about who is in your group of 5, okay? Not only do I want you to think about them, I need you to picture their faces. I need you to visualize their names, okay? Because here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I've created this very official-looking scale. It's amazing. And it goes from 0 to 10. And on this scale, we're going to talk about how influenced you think you are by your friends. So how much influence do your friends have on you? Now, clearly on the 0 end, you are an impenetrable wall. Nothing phases you. No one influences you. You are your own man or woman, and you make your own decisions. Nobody tells me what to do. Nobody influences my decisions. Or you're a 10, and you have your friends decide whether you're eating Cheetos or Doritos on a daily basis. Okay, so everybody falls somewhere in this spectrum, right? So what I want you to do is think of your 5, get your 5 lined up in your head, and then I want you to think, how influenced am I by these 5? And I need you to think of a number, okay? And then after you have your number in your head, I need you to think, why? Why did I select the number that I selected? Okay? Give you just like another 10 seconds. Dial that in. Okay, do we have our names and our numbers and why? Turn and talk to whoever's next to you. Tell them your number and tell them why you chose that number. Okay, we can bring it on back. Give me some numbers that you heard. You don't have to say your own. Maybe say a number that you heard. What do you got on the scale that we got going on? Yell it out. Did I get any zeros? Any 10s? Okay, good. What typically happens in this scenario is we underreport because nobody likes to admit that they're actually influenced by things. So if I'm in reality an 8 or a 7, I might have reported a 5, thinking 5's a safe number, I'm going to go with that. Sometimes I'm influenced, sometimes I'm not influenced, and that's an easy answer. What we're going to do now is talk about some of the research that shows how influenced you actually are. So there was a study done called the Xbox effect. And as everybody's heading into college, some of the studies that I chose this morning deal with freshmen at college. And so the Xbox effect looks like this. When you place, and this study, just so everybody knows the parameters that were done, just involves men. So I understand that this can't be generalized to the greater population, but we're just going to go with this one for now, and we'll add some others in. When you place an Xbox in a room with young men starting college, what impact do you think that has on GPA and study habits? Yeah, see all the girls were like, down. I know, I've seen it. They do it now. The GPAs drop by 0.2. The amount of time spent drops by 30 minutes. And that accounts for the fact that you have people coming from very high-performing high school careers. So that's even the kid who, I was valedictorian in my school. I show up, oh my gosh, he has an Xbox? My parents never let me play Xbox. I'm gonna do this all the time. And suddenly, the GPA and the study time and everything drops because in college, what tends to happen at the beginning is you use proximity as your way of selecting friends. So just by nature of being randomly placed in a room with someone who brought an Xbox, it's possible that you're going to see your grades tank. So when you get assigned to a roommate next year, just keep that in mind. That goes for both men and women, even though the results were only for men. Okay, next study. Binge drinking. You guys are probably going to hear a lot about this year. Binge drinking. Two studies. One coming out of Clark University. And in Clark University, they had their incoming freshmen self-report. Okay, so this is they are the ones giving this information. They said, how many of you have engaged in a binge drinking activity 1 month before starting freshman year? Any guesses on what that percentage was? This is just for Clark University, so this isn't a wide sample size. How much? 53. 100. This guy, yeah. Okay, it was 34%, okay? 34% said they self-reported. Now, they did the same exact survey in the spring. What percentage do you think that the number shifted to during that time? 85? 100. This guy's back again. He's like, I'm not letting go. It's 100. It became 54%. And when they accounted for all of the different variables, what they found is that it was the roommates of the original self-reporting binge drinkers who filled in that gap. Meaning that the influence that the original binge drinkers had on their roommates actually was fairly substantial. Now, one more from Harvard. So they did a survey of freshmen at Harvard University, and they paired up people by someone who was considered a heavy drinker and someone who was considered a non-drinker. So let's account for people who don't even drink. So that might not even be your thing. And they said that if you looked at the GPAs across the board between the controls and the sample, you actually saw a 0.25 GPA decrease in the non-drinkers who were paired as roommates with the heavy drinkers. There's something about that influence that people have on us that we don't even understand and fully appreciate. Now, in case you're thinking everything's bad about influence, it's not. And I wanted to use an example that comes out of Duke University about couples. And what they found is that when one person in a relationship, how many of you guys are in relationships right now? Some of you guys don't want to admit it. Yeah, I know. They're like, as you're like holding hands with somebody next to you, like, okay, that's fine. We don't need to go into the details. It's all right. Secret relationships, that's fine. Let's say you're in a relationship right now, just hypothetically. What the researchers at Duke found is that if one of you in that relationship just exhibits incredible self-control and discipline, and the other is a little bit, weaker, we're not pointing fingers here. I'm already seeing people, you're the one, yeah, no self-control. If one of you has a little less self-control, what the researchers found is that they benefit so much from the person who has a lot of self-control. And what they recommended at the end of their study was that if you're having trouble accomplishing your goals, you just need to go find a boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, partner, whoever, who's just a little bit better than you, and they're gonna lift you up to their level, okay? That's just some counsel, some wise advice. Okay, so obviously we've talked about research. You've seen the influence that happens in fiction, and we looked at some real-world examples. Bill Gates you're familiar with. He obviously recommends making sure you choose good friends. Anybody know Warren Buffett? He's an old-timer. We got some of you. Yeah, okay. Very well-known investor. And I like his quote because he says, move in the direction of the people you associate with. It's important to associate with people who are better than you. So let's connect a few dots real quick so we can keep going. One, we talked about the number of people that you can actually manage in your social lives, which varies from person to person. And two, we talked about how influential these people are in your life, right? So when I go to something like this, if I was in the audience right now, what I typically think is, okay, I'm here to do two things. I'm here to do, one, to learn something. Whoever's speaking better bring something new that I haven't heard yet. And two, I'm looking for application. how does this actually apply to me, and what can I do with this? So we're going to move into the next phase of this. Some of you guys might recognize this dashing gentleman. We're going to go through a series of questions, and I'm going to talk with you about how we apply this information in our lives and the impact that this can have on your entire course. Like, we're talking, literally what we're about to talk about, guys, could literally change the entire direction of your life. I'm not even exaggerating here. So we start with, who am I? It's one of those questions that people joke about, and it's like, oh, who am I? But how many of you have actually thought about who you are? Oh, sorry, no need to raise hands, but I appreciate that. Yeah, you have. Okay, if you have not, I would recommend this as an exercise to engage in, okay? Because what this does is it gives you a baseline to work with. You will then understand, what is it that I actually value? When I'm placed in situations, is this the reaction that I want to have, or is this what I want to have? Is this how I want to handle this when this comes up, or is it going to be more like this? You want to understand yourself well enough so that you have that baseline thoughtfulness and mindfulness of who you actually are. So first, you figure out who you are. Next, you want to figure out who you're trying to become. How many of you guys have goals? Goals. Okay. Oh, that was... got a spotty response on that one. Senior year, I get it. That's fine. Goals are overrated. Some of you have goals, and part of those goals might involve things like what university you want to go to, what type of job you're trying to get, where you want to live someday. It could be a variety of different things, okay? But the deeper part of that question is not just what are you trying to get, it's who are you trying to become. Are you a person who is trying to develop honesty as a virtue? Are you someone who's trying to develop moderation or temperance? Any of these different attributes, what is it that you value, and what are you trying to get to? And it's important because, I don't know if you guys have seen this little graphic before. Benjamin Franklin, if you've studied his life, when he was maybe a year or two older than you're at right now, he decided that there were 13 virtues that he found very important, that he noticed in people older than him who were very successful. And he thought, well, if I can develop these, then I might be able to send my life in the right direction. And so he had things on his, and obviously he comes from a different era, so it's temperance, moderation, humility. He has silence on there as one of them, something to keep in mind. The question is, have you thought through who you're trying to become in regards to virtues and things that you're trying to develop, those personality traits and characteristics? Okay, go back to the 5. So again, right now you should have these faces, these 5 faces, these glowing faces in your mind, people who you are closest to. And we're going to do something that is going to perhaps feel a little uncomfortable, because what I want you to do right now is I want you to go through those 5 one by one. And I want you to ask yourself, does this person help me move from where I am, my baseline, to the person that I'm trying to become up here? Okay? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Because when you realize in life, you guys are familiar with dissonance, there's a distance here, and it's where you are now and who you're trying to become. And in between is that dissonance, right? That, oh no, I'm not quite there yet, and that's that feeling that you get. Are the people who are closest to you helping you get to where you're trying to go? Okay. This is usually the part of the presentation where things start to get a little awkward, and people in the audience are like, oh, yikes. The questions that he's asking now are, you might be thinking, okay, I'm not just going to cut friends out of my life. And first off, who are you down there trying to tell me who my friends are? And secondly, you might be thinking, whoa, this seems super selfish to only be selecting my friends based on what they can do for me. So let's talk about both of those. First, I wouldn't dream of telling you what friends you should have. That's not my place. What I am hoping to do with the exercise is just make you aware. Because too many times in life, we put things on autopilot, right? You could show up to freshman year And just by virtue of somebody in some random office placing you with these 4 women or these 5 guys, you go, I guess this is my friend group. I'm just going to kind of roll with this and we'll see what happens. You guys are better than that. You'll know next year when you get to wherever it is that you end up going, whether it's you're in NS or you're taking a gap year or you're going to university. I just need you to remember one thing as you arrive, that this is your opportunity to ask these questions and say, okay, I'm going to be deliberate in the activities and the friendships and the people that I surround myself with. Now, as far as, is this a selfish thing? Oh, I'm just looking out for me because I'm trying to find people who are better than me, who can help me, elevate myself. When you look at these friendships and these relationships, it's not about me saying, I need you to get me a job recommendation, or I need you to get me this interview opportunity. It's actually not about what you're getting from someone, it's about what you're giving to them. Because when you find people whose values align, and you surround yourself, and you might already see this in some of the friendships that you have, you guys end up doing what? Oh, I'm going to do this, and she did this, and I'm going to help, and I'm going to help here. And you found that you can actually push and encourage and have expectations of your friends that allow you all to perform better and to head in the direction that you're looking to head. So by no means is this some type of Machiavelli exercise where it's like, this person is no longer part of my life. Get out. You're now in the outer darkness, and I'm going to get you out of my circle. It's not like that. This isn't like that. It's about being mindful and about understanding that when you find the right crew, suddenly things elevate and things escalate a lot faster, and you can progress a lot quicker. Okay, this was our chart, right? These are our numbers. This is Dunbar's number. So I'm going to add one thing into this, because I actually think Dunbar's number is missing something. And I think it's missing this. Oh wow. Thank you. I can't really take credit for this, but thank you. Okay, I think that there's one level deeper that we need to go. That 5 is really close to you, right? They're really close, and you spend a lot of time with them. But who do you spend the most time with? If you're in a relationship, I know we already covered this, none of you are in relationships, I get it. If you were in a relationship, you would be spending a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, sometimes a lot of money. You would be spending all those things with this person, right? So how influential do you think that this person is in your life? I actually think that this is one of the most important decisions that you'll make in your entire life. I think hands down. Because imagine partnering with somebody, so you've got a partner or a spouse or a boyfriend, girlfriend, and you have 5 years of arguments and negativity. Some of you maybe have theoretically been in a relationship where there was a lot of negativity. Okay? Imagine what 10 years of that would do to your trajectory. What kind of impact do you think that has? So, let me tell you a little story. I met my wife when she was a freshman in college. I was a senior in college. And, yeah, I know. It's fine. It's fine. We have that discussion all the time. She keeps me young. She, from the moment I met her, was so much better than me. Okay? So much better than me. I still am not deserving of her. Okay? No. I'm dead serious. I can literally attribute any amount of success or any progression that I've made to her. I have adjusted so she met me, remember that first picture when I was like this? That was when I thought I was going to be a professional breakdancer. I literally thought I was going to be a professional breakdancer. And my university GPA, my dashing 2.8, that will tell you so. She met me while I was in that phase, when I'm not sure who would have wanted to be part of that situation. We had lunch together for 3 years running, just as friends, never dating. I was dating other people, she was dating other people, and I kept going back each week to have lunch with her. Kept going back, kept texting, hey, can we have lunch? And it's because every time I was around her, something felt different. Then all the rest of my life at that moment, something felt different, okay? And it was that thing that was different that made me a little bit better. I left every one of those lunches feeling like, oh, man. She said some difficult things to me during that lunch because I was living whatever type of breakdance life I thought I was living, and she had higher expectations. Now, she wasn't planning on dating me. If you ask my wife, if you ever see her, she'll say, oh no, when I first met him, I said, I will never, never kiss that guy. Guys, I won. And to be honest, I do feel like I won. And I want to drive that point home because I think it's so important that it's the life hack that nobody ever talks about, choosing the right spouse or partner or boyfriend, girlfriend. Okay, now back to this guy who's like out there just trying to make it on the streets, right? You are very different than you were back in middle school, right? I imagine. You're quite different. And even between right now, as you're sitting here with me, in 1 year, when you start freshman year of college, you're going to be different again. And so what you need to recognize is that I still keep in touch with a lot of these guys and Ashley, and we tried to get more girls, guys. Come on. Right? Equal opportunity. We were going for it. We still keep in touch, but that's not my inner circle anymore, right? That's just, times have changed, and that's okay, because now they're in a different level of influence in my life. And that you'll find the same thing next year will happen to you. You will change, and you will develop a new inner circle. And so you need to use that opportunity to develop the right inner circle. And so the crew that I once rolled with looks a little different now. So, oh my gosh, I'm going to start using these pictures a lot more when I do presentations. The crew I used to roll with is so different than the crew that I spend my time with now. And what I can tell you is that when you find the right crew, you end up wanting to become better, not because you want to just be better, but you end up wanting to become better so that you have more to give, so that you can give more. Because in that moment, when you're getting better and you're improving and you're progressing, you're not thinking, oh, look at me, I'm progressing and I'm like doing this. You're thinking, oh my goodness, how can I provide more value to the group that I'm in? And that is the value of a crew. Thank you, guys. You guys have a good morning.